Welcome to Andy's Garage. I'm Andy Phillips. We're finally back in the garage working on the Countach project after a long break. It's been about 2 months. I have a few other vehicles. I was having to do a lot of work with them, with inspections with the state, things like that, so that kind of took priority. But we're back here in the garage working on this. We're going to start working on the Fender Flares, getting that part fixed. That's the last major kind of body work to be done, and then just working on the pop-up headlights, and then we can get this thing ready for the paint job, which is coming up this spring. So let's go ahead and get started. So what we have here, we have these cardboard placeholders that I put in here for the body work that has to be done. I did it on the front fenders on the and the back one as well for the bump outs. So basically what we're going to be doing is we're going to be building them up and adding this flat piece, because when the company built this turnkey replica, for whatever reason they cut that off and left it off. I don't know why. Because the real Countach does have this flat piece that kind of completes that wheel well molding. Here, take a look at some photos. So that's what I'm going to be doing today. I have some polycarbonate that we're going to be using that I'm going to put in here, and then we're going to go ahead and add that, chemically weld it in there, reinforce it with fiberglass. The last project that I did on this car since the move was just a quick project where we chemically welded in the steel flat bar for the windows. You can check out that video via the link above. But today we're going to be focusing on this. Let's head over here and I'll show you the material that we're going to be using. So this is what we're working with here. Nice big sheet of quality polycarbonate, 1/4 inch thick. Also going to be using JB Weld. This is their plastic bonder. This is made for fiberglass to plastic chemically welding compound. Definitely recommended if you've never used JB Weld for anything. Excellent product. I've used this on vehicles for a few years. Good stuff. Definitely automotive grade stuff. Then we have our fiberglass cloth right here. Some people use fiberglass matte. Personally, I like cloth better. It's a little bit stronger. So we're going to be using that to reinforce inside the wheel well with the hardener. And then here we have our resin. So what I'm going to do is remove those cardboard templates I did. We're going to lay it out on the polycarbonate, trace it out so we can cut it, and then we can get ready to start bonding this together and welding it on there. Gently remove this. You don't want to damage this template here because I'm going to use this for both sides. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to go ahead and remove this, and we're going to lay it out. I'm going to go ahead and trace it on here, and then we'll be back to take a look right before we cut. So we have this first piece right here cut out. We're going to go ahead and put it up to the vehicle. I did cut it a little bit bigger because I want to be able to come with the sander and just sand it perfectly to fit in there. I didn't want to cut it too short and then have a gap. So let's take it over there. We'll take a look at it, and then I'll go ahead and cut the rest of them out, and then we can start getting them ready for installation. Here it is. You can see it right up against there. It'll tuck in on the inside like that. Now it is cut a little bit big right now, as I mentioned. I'm going to go ahead with the sander and kind of sand it to fit perfect. But basically it'll look like this once it's in there. And then we'll have it reinforced with the fiber cloth, fiber resin on the inside. Then we'll take some body filler, mend it all nice, prime it. It'll be all like one nice piece, and that'll look good. So I'm going to go ahead, we're going to sand that down, but first I'm going to cut. We have them ready to go. And then we'll start kind of detailing them and prepping them to fit in there, and then we can start using the JB Weld to chemically weld that in. And then once that dries, then we'll go back with the fiber cloth and take care of all that. Went ahead and finished the passenger side. All of the welding compound has dried, nice and solid. These things are on there permanent. So next we have to do the driver's side, but I'm going to go ahead and get a close-up, show you what we did. Had to take the heat gun and kind of soften it a little bit so I could bend the polycarbonate. There's a contour here. The front fender has a little bit of a curve to it, so we had to match that. And then we went ahead and filled the entire gap with the JB Weld plastic bonder so that we have a really tight bond. And after that's done, we're going to come back then and do the fiberglass on the back. And that's really not for support, but more so just to kind of seal this mended line right here so no rocks or debris fly up in there and can crack that. And it'll also finish the inside of the wheel well nicely. And then that'll probably wrap it up. I wanted to also kind of sand this and body fill it and blend it and prime it, but that's going to be for another time because this is taking a little bit longer than I had anticipated. So let me get a close-up and then we'll head off to the driver's side. This is the front. You can see here where it's all blended coming around. Looks really good, and it fills this gap. You can see here, they had this big opening here, which is really weird. It should have a tighter fit around the wheel like that. So what I'm gonna do now, and now that that's done, we're gonna put the fiberglass here on the inside, and let me get a close up here so you can see what I'm talking about. You see right here, that's where the body panel ended. This is the wheel well liner right here that wraps around. So what I'm going to do is we're going to take the fiberglass, loop it from here, and just kind of bridge it, transitioning slightly over to right here to kind of fill this void. And that's how we're going to do it all around. But you can see all this, and then right here it's all blended. I mean, this is solid. That's not going anywhere. And being polycarbonate, it's going to be very sturdy. But what I'm going to do is, at the next time in the garage, we're going to go ahead and we're going to sand all this down, because if I get a kind of a top view, you can see it's a little bit lumped up there because I globbed it on really thick. So what we have to do is then just sand all that down. Sand all that down smooth, then we'll take body filler and just blend it nicely, sand it and shape it, prime it, and then also right here it's very sharp. We're gonna just go over that and make it a little more of a smoother, rounder edge so it's not as sharp, and then you can see it's a little bit imperfect right there. So next time, after we do the fiberglass today, the next time in the garage, we're going to go ahead and we're just going to smooth that out, make that a little bit cleaner, and then round that a little bit, do the body filler, shape it real good and prime it, and then that'll take care of it. This is on the back fender here on the passenger side. Same thing as we just looked at. We have to kind of smooth this out right here, but you can see now how the shape cuts over nicely. And then it rounds right down into here. And when we shape it, we're just going to blend that a little bit better. And then come up. And then once this is all blended nicely and primed, this whole back piece will be a little bit further back, be a little bit larger as is on the real one. Here's a photo of a real LP400S with the Koenig Special body kit on it, and you can see what I'm talking about. So that's pretty much what we're looking to do here, because there was a big void in here when we put the Pirelli P7s. So I'm just kind of filling that up, and then once we lower it, the wheel will be tucked in a little bit more like a low body. And then coming around here to the back, we have this here where we'll just kind of blend that a little bit better, and it'll be all nice and smooth. It'll look really good. Here we are on the driver's side, and you can see that void that we need to fill right there. So the piece we go in will have a little bit right here and then slightly curving over there and then thicker to fill that. And this driver's side is about an inch higher off the ground than on the passenger because of the suspension being out of whack. So once we put the suspension, redo everything, lower it to where it needs to be, all of this will be all nice and balanced properly. And then as we come here towards the back, you can really see here on the back what I'm talking about with that void. And that's the back right there. So we're going to go ahead and you can see the markings. I have a black mark there and there. That's pretty much where the panel is going to go. So it's going to fill in right here, curving here, and back to fill. I don't know why they did that. As we just saw in that photograph of a real Koenig Special LP400S, you don't have this big void. I don't know why they made it that way, but it's ridiculous. So we're going to go get ready now to do this side, and that'll fill all that up nicely, and then keep moving. I'm going to mix up some of this plastic bonder, the JB Weld. Good stuff here if you haven't used it. For automotive repair, they make a whole line of stuff. It's a two-part compound with a hardener in it. Mix it up real good. Now this particular one has a 15-minute set time. They have some that are 1 and 5 minutes, but they're more just a generic epoxy. This one here, since it's specifically for bonding plastics, fiberglass to metal, different applications like that, which are pretty much what we need for this project. This is what I've been using. But I've also used their metal to metal compound on other automotive projects I've worked on, and I have a buddy of mine who works in the automotive industry, and I actually work in a manufacturing industry outside of doing these projects, and we use this different kind of chemical welds by JB Weld and other ones as well. Good stuff. I mean, as long as it's nothing really structural, it's good stuff. Everything has been applied here on the driver's side. Just touched up a little area in there that needed a little bit of space there that had gotten missed. But you can see that, nice and solid. If we come over here to the back, same thing, nice and solid. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to head over to the driver's side next. We're going to get it up in the air because I need to remove the wheels so we can get into the liner inside the wheel wells there, remove those, and we can start applying the fiberglass. That'll give this side time to dry, and then we'll be back on this side to put the fiberglass here as well, and that'll wrap up this time in the garage working on the Countach project. So let's head over there. Not to deviate from the project we're working on, but as I've mentioned several times, if you've been following this progress, once the body is done and painted, the next priority is redoing the whole suspension. You take a look at this right here. Look at these rotors, the pad. I mean, this is a mess. So what we're going to be doing at that time, we're going to be taking the calipers off, refinishing them, obviously doing the brakes, rotors. We're going to go ahead and bleed the brake lines and flush that out. Up in here, you can see some of the suspension. Now, keep in mind, some of it is just from sitting so much. You have cobwebs and stuff, but we're going to go over everything. The control arms, tie rods, inner and outer, everything. I know some of the bushings are bad and all that, but just wanted to kind of show you what we have coming up with that. But getting back to what we're working on now, we're going to go ahead and remove the wheel well liner. Up in there is where we're going to take out next, so we can continue on. Here we are looking inside the wheel well here, and this is where we're going to connect. You can see here's the piece that we added. I'm going to take the fiberglass, wrap it around this lip, and then just merge that to pretty much conceal that seam so no rocks and debris fall in there and hit that. And we're going to be going all around in there. There's our scissor door bracket right there, and you can see it curving around here. And then as we come through here, there you can see our pop-up headlight assembly, which is right here. And see how that's going to come up like that. So the next project is to get that wired up with the motors. We have the hinges there all set up, so you can see that. So it'll go up and then comes right back down. So we're going to be wrapping it here on this lip as well and just bringing it around here. So let's go ahead and start doing that, and then we'll be back to take a look at our progress and then head off to the other side. Just finished putting the fiberglass, and you can see it through the polycarbonate right there, going all around right here, coming down. And because this is not structural, I'm not going to like layer it up. I have just two layers of the fiber cloth, letting it dry, and then we're going to go ahead and we'll clean all that junk off of there. But let me get a shot on the inside so you can see it. There it is there. You can see it there. How I have it spread, going from here and then wrapping and going that way, so it kind of seals that. And I have, like I said, 2 layers going all around. So I'm going to go ahead now, we're going to do the back. I'm going to keep moving, I'm not going to film the whole thing, but we'll be back to get some progress once I'm done with this whole side. Everything's looking good. All the fiberglass has been put in on the passenger side, front and back. Now we need to head over to the driver's side, do it over there, and that'll take care of this project for this time here on the Countach. But I just wanted to get a close-up so you guys can see how I did it and see how it's looking. So let me get a close-up with the camera, and then we'll head over to the other side. Well, I'll head over to the other side, do the other front and back, and then we'll kind of revisit it and see how everything looks, and then close out this video. This is the rear fender, and just show you kind of what I did here. You can see on the other side, since this is the clear 1/4 inch thick polycarbonate, you can see the fiberglass cloth, how I have it, and see if I can get a shot on it there. But you see what I did is here's the crease where it's chemically welded to the body. I took the fiber cloth and kind of curved it there, so there's a gap in there. So if anything were to hit the fiberglass inside the wheel well, you've got about an inch gap before it would even get to this crease and crack that. So it's kind of curved right there to give it some shelter. And the same was done here on the front. You can see the line where the fiber cloth is connected, and then you have it curving over before this seam right there. And then once this is done, the next time in the garage, we're going to go ahead and sand that down on all of them. Use some body filler to kind of blend that seam real good, and then we're going to prime that. So when the whole car is done, that fender is going to be all one piece, but just comes there and then drops down. Same here in the front. You can see that as well. it'll do the same thing there as well. So it'll be nice and blended, but it'll round and then drop down just as the real Countach has that as well. You can see the fiberglass here on this side as well, all nice and dried in here, all nice and reinforced. Everything is dry. You can see that? That is solid. Nice barrier right there, just kind of bridging a little gap there in between that seam. So if anything comes up, it'll hit here, roll off. Worst case scenario, it'll crack that fiber cloth, and I'll just have to patch that. Okay, well, that pretty much wraps it up. All 4 fender flares have been modified. The polycarbonate is on there. Everything is dry. You can see that it's solid. Went ahead and did the reinforcement of the fiberglass on the inside of the wheel well. As mentioned earlier in this video, we're not doing that for structural purposes. It's just a thin layer of fiberglass and resin just to kind of put a barrier so if any debris or anything flies up in there, it can't hit this seam and crack that. Because once this car is painted, I don't want to have to do any body work. I'd rather go into the wheel well if need be and just replace or reinforce any of the fiberglass. That'll be a lot easier. So that pretty much wraps up this time here in the garage. So I hope this video was informative for you. I hope you enjoyed it. Please send me any questions, any comments. I would love to hear from you. Next time in the garage, we're going to be sanding this down real good, blending it, taking some body filler, and just kind of smoothing out this seam real good, and then priming it. So that way the last of the body work is done, and then we can get back on track with the headlights and just get that wrapped up and get it ready for paint. So, as always, I appreciate all the support. Please like this video and subscribe to the channel. I'll see you next time.